Welcome back to the deep dive. So, I want to start today by asking you a question. And I'm talking to everyone listening. It's something that I think keeps a lot of us up at night, whether we admit it or not. Can a relationship actually survive when one person treats love like a spreadsheet, something to be calculated, risk assessed, and the other person just treats it like a free fall?
That is the classic head versus heart battle, isn't it?
Hmm.
Or to be more specific to the story we're covering today, it's really the planner versus the free spirit.
Exactly. We've all heard opposites attract, right? It's a cliche for a reason, but I
Mhm.
mean, usually by month 3 or 4, opposites aren't attracting anymore. They're just annoying each other.
They really are.
So today we are really going to put that theory to the test. We're diving back into the work of Abdullah al-Khalifa and his collection, Whispers of the Shape of Love, The Art of Choosing.
It's just such a beautiful, understated collection.
Oh, it really is. And specifically, we're zooming in on one story called A Second Chance at Love. Now, for everyone listening, our mission today isn't just to, retell a romance story.
No, we're not doing a book report here.
We are going to analyze the psychological friction between two very specific characters, Lena and Elliot, to uncover a deeper philosophy about why messy relationships often outlast the, quote, perfect ones.
And that really is the core thesis. Al-Khalifa isn't writing these high-drama soap operas with explosions and betrayals. He writes about the quiet, often invisible work that keeps people together. And this story, A Second Chance at Love, is practically a case study on what he calls the art of choosing.
So let's set the stage. We have our two protagonists who, on paper, are a complete disaster waiting to happen. Let's start with Lena. If you looked up risk-averse in the dictionary, her picture is right there.
That's a very fair assessment. Lena is, she's the archetype of order.
Well,
The source material paints a very specific picture of her. She's practical, she's cautious, and she is incredibly logical. She's curated her life with almost surgical precision.
The text mentions her crafted home. That phrase really stuck with me.
Hmm.
It doesn't just mean her house is clean, right? It implies that nothing is accidental. Everything has a purpose and a place.
Precisely. The coasters are always in the right spot. The books are probably alphabetized. The source details that she prioritizes three things above all else: a flourishing career, a crafted home, and a small circle of trusted friends. Her primary motivation, the thing that gets her out of bed in the morning, is certainty.
Certainty. That's
Yeah.
a heavy word to bring into a relationship.
It really is. She likes knowing what is coming next. The text sort of implies she's had relationships before, but they never felt right. And I think we need to decode that. For someone like Lena, right usually means safe. Right means predictable. To her, love isn't a feeling she falls into. It's a logical choice that has to fit into her existing routine without disrupting the whole ecosystem.
Which brings us to the wrecking ball. Enter Elliot.
The agent of chaos.
The text describes him as a writer, a free spirit. It says he is spontaneous, unpredictable, and occasionally reckless with his feelings. I feel like Lena would break out in hives just reading that description.
Oh, absolutely. It's a fundamental clash of worldviews. For Elliot, love isn't a calculation or a spreadsheet. He views it as a wild, beautiful journey. He believes in diving in first and checking for water second.
So metaphorically, you have Lena on the cliff edge checking wind velocity and structural integrity, and Elliot has already jumped because the view looked nice. And usually in the real world, these two people just stay in their separate lanes. The Lenas date the accountants, and the Elliots date the skydiving instructor.
Usually, yes. They inhabit different ecosystems.
But Abdullah al-Khalifa forces a collision. Literally, the inciting incident happens in a bookstore. And I have to ask, why a bookstore? Is that just a romance trope, or is there something more to it?
It's actually quite significant to the author's theme. A bookstore is neutral ground. I mean, think about it. It's a place of quiet and order, which Lena loves, but it's also filled with stories, imagination, other worlds, which is Eliot's whole domain.
So it's the one Venn diagram overlap where they could actually coexist.
That's it.
So Lena's there probably buying something very serious, a biography or something on architecture, and Elliot bumps into her. Books go flying everywhere.
That's a visual metaphor, right?
Ugh.
Her orderly stack of plans is literally scattered across the floor by his arrival. He disrupts her equilibrium from the first second.
He offers an apologetic grin, says he owes her a coffee, and Lena, who is usually so guarded, she agrees. Why? If she's so risk-averse, why say yes to the guy who just assaulted her with paperbacks?
Well, that's the second chance element of the title. I think the text implies this moment of uncharacteristic curiosity, but also Once they sit down for that coffee, the dynamic shifts. They find out they actually share deep values. They're both passionate about literature. They both have really strong views on what makes a life meaningful.
Okay, so this is the intellectual bridge.
Exactly. If they had nothing in common, she would have walked away.
Hmm.
But they connect intellectually, even if their, let's say, operational modes, how they live day to day, are totally different.
I like that distinction. Same destination, different vehicles.
Hmm.
Lena is driving a sensible sedan with the GPS on, checking traffic reports, and Elliot is on a unicycle.
A unicycle blindfolded, singing at the top of his lungs.
Right. So they start dating. And at first, this difference is probably intoxicating, right? It's the whole opposites attract phase. His spontaneity feels like an adventure to her, and her stability.
Feels like a sanctuary to him. For a while, yes. It fills the gaps in their own personalities. But the source material is very honest about how quickly that fades. This isn't a fairy tale. The author pivots very quickly to the friction.
Because eventually the novelty wears off and you're just left with the annoyance.
Yeah.
Let's dig into that friction, because I think this is where most relationships like this just die. What does it look like for them?
Well, from Lena's perspective, she starts feeling torn. The text describes a shift where Elliot's behavior moves from being charming to just frustrating. She feels aggravated by his carelessness. He's late. He forgets things. He changes plans last minute because something felt right.
It's cute that he's spontaneous until he's spontaneous about the bills or, I don't know, dinner reservations with her parents.
Exactly. For Lena, planning is a love language. It shows respect.
Mhm.
So when Elliot fails to plan, she interprets that as a lack of care. But we have to look at Elliot's side too. He starts feeling weighed down.
How so? I mean, from the outside, having someone organize your life sounds kind of nice.
It can be, but he feels judged. When you're with someone who scrutinizes every decision, who's constantly asking, are you sure? Or is that wise? It can feel like you're being audited.
Being audited by your partner, that is not sexy.
Not at all. So he starts to question if she actually trusts him. He feels like she's trying to parent him or, fix him. And that's where the core tension builds. Lena's asking herself if this emotional whirlwind is worth the loss of her peace.
And that's the stakes right there, the fear of losing yourself. She built this fortress of stability, this crafted home, and letting Elliot in feels like letting a Trojan horse in.
It's the moment where the planner usually cuts their losses. Logic dictates that if a variable causes too much instability, you remove the variable.
So we reach the breaking point. The story describes a rainy evening after a particularly intense argument. Lena is just walking alone.
It's a scene of total isolation. She's wandering in the rain again, the uncontrolled elements mirroring her internal state, and she's having a full-blown existential crisis about the relationship.
And she's not just asking, do I love him?
Right.
It's deeper than that.
No, not at all. She knows she loves him. That's not the issue. The question she asks herself in the text is, does love mean sacrificing everything she had built for herself?
I think that is such a relatable fear. We spend our 20s and 30s building our identities, our routines, our safe spaces. And the idea of compromising that for another person can feel like a regression.
It feels like a loss. And Lena is standing there ready to walk away because the math just doesn't add up. The cost of admission seems too high.
But then the phone buzzes.
The turning point.
It's a text from Elliot, and I want to read this exactly as it appears in the source because I think this is the pivot of the entire narrative. He writes, I don't have all the answers, but I do know I want to figure them out with you no matter how messy we are.
It's such a simple line, but it does so much heavy lifting. I don't have all the answers.
See, that's the part that confused me at first. Lena wants answers. She wants the plan. Why would not having the answers work on her? You'd think she'd want a bulleted list of how he's going to improve.
You would think so. But consider the subtext. Lena is used to carrying the burden of knowing. She feels she has to know what lies ahead to be safe. If Elliot had sent a text promising to change or promising a 5-year plan, she would have known he was lying. That's just not him.
So he's staying true to his character, but he's offering something else.
Exactly. He isn't promising a map. He's promising partnership. He's saying, I don't know the way, but I'm not living your side. He's offering presence, not prediction. And in that moment, that vulnerability is more powerful than any plan.
That's really powerful. The source says the warmth of his words dissolved her doubts. She realized she didn't need perfection. She didn't need logic. She just needed him.
And this is where the book's subtitle comes right into play. The Art of Choosing. In that moment, Lena stops looking for a fit, someone who slots perfectly into the empty space in her life like a puzzle piece, and she makes a conscious choice.
So she stops being an architect and starts being a partner.
Correct. She accepts that the messiness isn't a bug, it's a feature. The text explicitly says, Lena's love for Elliot wasn't about fixing him or reshaping him to fit her world. It was about accepting him as he was.
And conversely, Elliot had to have a realization too, right? He couldn't just keep being this chaotic whirlwind and expect her to tolerate it forever.
Right. And the text does mention that. Elliot realized Lena's practicality wasn't a cage, it was an anchor. He saw it was the balance that fortified them. Without Lena, Elliot might float away into the ether, starting 1,000 projects and finishing none.
And without Elliot, Lena might calcify, becoming so rigid she never actually lives.
On needed the friction.
They needed the friction to stay grounded and flexible. It's a dialectic.
Yeah.
Now, the story flashes forward years later, and what I really appreciate about Al Khalifa's writing here is that he doesn't pretend they became this zen, conflict-free couple who do yoga together at sunrise.
No, not at all. The source is very clear. They still fight. They still disagree. They have separate dreams. They are not the couple everyone anticipated would make it. Their friends probably placed bets on how long they'd last.
But they are still together.
Because they learned the lesson. The source sums it up beautifully. Love isn't about fitting neatly into each other's lives. It's about creating a shared world, messy and imperfect as it may be.
It just shifts the whole definition of success in a relationship. I think we're taught that success means we never fight and we like the same pizza. But this story argues that success is we choose each other when it's hard.
It's the repetition. It's the act of choosing. It is not a one-time event at the altar or when you define the relationship. It's Tuesday morning when they're annoying you.
And this leads us to the broader philosophy of the author, Abdullah al-Khalifa. This story isn't just a one-off, it fits into his larger worldview. There's a quote from the introduction of the collection: "Some books aren't written to impress, they're written to understand."
I love that sentiment. It feels like the whole collection is trying to just lower the volume on love. We are so conditioned by movie love. Boomboxes outside windows, running through airport security.
High stakes, high volume. If there isn't a swelling orchestra, is it even love?
Exactly. But Al-Khalifa defines true connection as something felt, not forced. He suggests that love exists in the silence, in the presence, in the space between people. It's not about the grand gesture. It's about that text message on a rainy Tuesday that simply says, I'm still here.
The source mentions that love lingers, waits, and changes us softly. That word softly really hit me. Lena didn't change overnight. Elliot didn't become an accountant. They changed each other softly over years.
That's the key. It's an osmosis. And that leads to the moral the author explicitly provides at the end of the story. He writes, love is not about finding someone who fits. It's about choosing someone again and again, especially when it's not easy.
Choosing someone again. It's an active verb. It's a daily renewal of a contract.
It is. And, I mean, think about our modern context for a moment. We have dating apps, algorithms, compatibility scores. We are obsessed with finding the person who fits our puzzle piece perfectly. We swipe left on anyone who has a slightly different worldview.
We treat dating like shopping. If the specs don't match, we return the item.
Precisely. But this story argues that human beings aren't puzzle pieces. We're shifting shapes. We grow, we regress, we change careers, we get sick, we get stressed. What fits today won't fit tomorrow. So you don't need a perfect fit. You need a willingness to adapt.
Lena's practicality ended up balancing Elliot's chaos, but only because they chose to let it happen. If Lena had stayed rigid, if she had said, no, you must be this organized to ride this ride, the relationship would have just broken.
And if Elliot had refused to be grounded at all, he would have drifted. They created a third entity, the relationship, that was stronger than the sum of its parts.
So let's bring this down to earth for everyone listening. Maybe you're driving to work or folding laundry, or maybe you're sitting next to a partner who is driving you absolutely crazy right now because they loaded the dishwasher wrong. What's the takeaway?
Well, it means we might need to reassess what we consider red flags versus just differences. Obviously, and I want to be really clear here, there are toxic behaviors, abuse, disrespect, that should never be tolerated.
Right. We are not saying stay with someone who treats you badly.
Not at all. But often, we run from friction because we mistake it for incompatibility. Lena and Elliot's story suggest that friction can actually be the heat that forges a stronger bond if both people are willing to stay in the mess.
It's about being brave enough to be messy.
Imperfection is sufficient. That's the deep dive takeaway. You don't need the storybook ending. You just need the partner who is willing to figure out the answers with you.
I think that's a great place to land. We went from a collision in a bookstore to a realization that perfection is a myth.
A very persistent myth, but a myth nonetheless.
So here's the actionable insight for you today. In a world that is constantly trying to sell you the perfect match, just remember that the human element, the act of choosing to stay through the arguments, the confusion, the rainy nights, that is what actually builds longevity.
It's the art of choosing.
Exactly. And I want to leave you with a thought to mull over. We talked about how Lena was afraid of sacrificing her routine. But here's the question. If you are waiting for a relationship that doesn't require you to change or sacrifice parts of your routine, are you looking for a partner or are you just looking for a mirror?
That's the real question. A mirror reflects you perfectly, but it can't hold your hand.
Something to think about. And hey, if this conversation resonated with you, if you're the Lena looking for your Elliot or the Elliot trying to understand your Lena, you really should check out the source material. The book is Whispers of the Shape of Love, The Art of Choosing by Abdullah Al-Khalifa.
It's available as an ebook on Amazon Kindle. It's perfect for those who enjoy stories that, as the author says, speak in whispers.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.
Take care.